Star Fox 64. It's a simple game where you have to shoot your way through the Lylat system to reach Andross, the game's final boss. But what if we didn't shoot? And by that, I mean shoot any lasers, the Arwing's primary attack system. What if Corneria was in an economic depression, and due to budget constraints, General Pepper ordered us not to fire any lasers? Would we still be able to save the Lylat system and beat the game? Let's find out. But first, General Pepper also ordered me to remind you to subscribe to the channel if you aren't already, and to like, comment, hype, and all that fun stuff. Okay, so the rules are simple. We have to avoid using any lasers, including charge shots, which is just holding and releasing the A button to fire instead of pressing the A button. Bombs are allowed, and strongly encouraged, as they will be one of the only few ways to inflict damage in this challenge. Fortunately, we start the game with 3 bombs, and can carry up to 9 at a time. What makes Star Fox 64 really unique is there are 25 possible paths in the game to get to the end, and the path we take is determined by performing certain actions in certain missions. So with 25 possible paths, there's gotta be at least one path that can get us to the end without shooting lasers, right?
Good luck.
Corneria is always the first mission of the game, and naturally, it's fairly simple. It's also our home planet, and it's under attack. I wasn't joking when I said Corneria was in an economic depression. And as much as I'd love to help fight against the invaders, we've been given strict orders not to fire lasers. So we spend the majority of the mission dodging attacks and speed boosting. At a certain point, Falco will be under attack, and this is the first instance where a certain decision impacts which path we take. If we decide to save Falco, which we can do with one precious bomb, and then show off our moves by flying through all these arches, Falco will take us along a secret route that leads to the attack carrier, one of the mission's bosses. To accomplish our mission of beating the game without shooting lasers, we'll want to avoid as many bosses as possible. Unfortunately, both routes in Corneria lead to a boss fight, so we can't avoid it in this mission. But this is definitely not the boss we want to be fighting, as it's heavily armored and immune to bombs, even when firing them into the open hatches, which are its weak spots. Plus, we also had to use a bomb just to get here. So that means, sorry Falco, we will not be saving you today. I'm sure he'll understand. Instead, we can keep flying on by and make our way to the other boss in this mission, picking up 2 bombs along the way, giving us a total of 5 bombs. I believe these are the only 2 bombs that we can grab on this route without having to shoot anything. It's here we have to fight Granja, one of Andross's lieutenants, who's controlling this machine. Its weak spot is on its back, so that's where we target with our bombs, making sure to not miss as we only have 5 bombs on us, and we're going to need all the bombs we can keep. I tried this a few times, and the amount of damage the machine takes depends on exactly where on the back we hit it. In one of my first attempts, I was able to take Granja down with 3 bombs, but that seemed like too much, especially given the first hit did more than half damage. After a few more tries, I was able to land a hit on the right spot to kill Granja with only 2 bombs, which I felt pretty good about, though you think Peppy or Slippy would spare a bomb or 2. Now, we can head into the next mission, still having 3 bombs. Since we didn't save Falco back in Corneria, that meant our next mission takes place in the asteroid field, known as Meteo. I'm assuming that's just short for meteor, but I could be very wrong. This mission is also pretty simple. All we need to do is avoid all the asteroids. The only problem is, there's another boss at the end of the mission, Meteo Crusher. Without destroying some asteroids, there are 2 bombs we can pick up. So that means we have 5 bombs to use to defeat Meteo Crusher. That might sound like enough, but there are 4 yellow triangles we need to destroy. And while one is shown, the other 3 are protected. So we can't destroy all 4 at once. So that means we'd have to use at least 4 bombs. But even one bomb didn't destroy a yellow triangle. And this is just the boss's first phase. So 5 bombs would definitely not be enough to defeat this boss. I don't think even 9 would be enough. Would this challenge really be over in only the second mission? Well, unbeknownst to me until doing this challenge, there's a loophole, or should I say, wormhole. Past the checkpoint are these rings. As we fly through one, the R ring starts to spin and gain speed, making it harder to control. And if we manage to fly through all 7 rings, which can be pretty challenging as the screen becomes more distorted as we go through each ring, we warp to a secret warp zone that looks like an acid trip. This secret warp zone is a godsend in this challenge for 2 reasons. 1, it means skipping the fight against Meteo Crusher, but 2, there are 6 bombs on this route. At this point in the warp zone, we can use a bomb to destroy this thing that reveals 6 bombs and these L items. The L items we don't care about, since they upgrade the lasers we can't afford to use. Now, we can't grab all 6 bombs, or maybe we can and I'm just not that skilled, but I was able to grab 4. The middle bomb is closer to us, so that's the bomb we want to pick up first. Immediately after, we can then turn left and can pick up 2 more bombs as we fly between them. We can then do a somersault to fly back around and pick up 1 more bomb, which now gives us 8 bombs. I tried this many times in an attempt to get 1 more bomb so that we had 9, but no matter how many times I tried, the best I could get was 8. I'm sure a more skilled player could pick up 1 more bomb, but unfortunately I just couldn't do it, and decided to move on to the next mission, which pains me because I'm certain an extra bomb will make a huge difference in this challenge. Oh yeah, and Kirby got messed up in case anyone cares. The next mission takes place in Katina, and this is a mission where we can do absolutely nothing. Really, all we have to do is fly around, not shoot, and avoid taking damage until a mothership appears. When the mothership does appear, we're supposed to shoot at the 4 hatches when they open so that the ship's core is revealed, which we then need to destroy to complete the mission. Except, we don't actually need to damage the hatches. With enough time, the core will appear, and it's at this moment we have a decision to make. We can save the day and destroy the core using only 2 bombs, which isn't too bad, but if we do that, then we have to head to Solar next, a planet that damages us just for being there. In order to survive here, we need to use bombs to destroy enemies or any rocks that come out from the lava to gain health. Not only that, but this mission has a boss, which again, we're trying to avoid. I'm not sure if it's even possible to beat this boss with bombs, but either way, Solar is just not it. So instead, we'll save on the 2 bombs and continue to do what we do best, which is nothing, letting the mothership destroy Katina. This is what saving the galaxy looks like on a budget. The great thing is, the mission is still considered completed even when we fail it. And failing means we can skip all the craziness on Solar and go to Sector X instead. And Sector X is exactly like Meteo, in that there's a boss fight at the end of the mission, but there's also another wormhole we can use to warp. Except, there's no rings here to fly through to activate the wormhole. Instead, we have to shoot and go through these 4 gates to activate it. And doing that with only bombs means using 2 bombs for each gate, for a total of 8 bombs. I was hoping that by using only 1 bomb, we could then do enough damage to open the gate by crashing into it with the R-Wing, but it didn't work. We would have to use 8 bombs in total if we want to activate the wormhole. I wouldn't be too fussed about this if the secret warp zone was like the one in Meteo and we could pick up several bombs to make up for using so many, but for some reason, there are no bombs to be found in this warp zone. We're at least able to pick up 1 bomb here, which maxes out our bomb inventory, and just before the gates, there is another bomb. So in order to pick that one up, I make sure to fire a bomb at the first gate before it even appears on screen. That way we can pick up this other bomb and head into the warp zone having 2 bombs left instead of just 1. It does kill me to still have to use 8 bombs here, but the alternative is fighting the Spyborg, and using bombs on it did very little damage if it did damage at all. So it would definitely take all 9 bombs to defeat, and I'm not confident that would be enough. And even if it was enough, beating the Cyborg, depending how fast we do it, would mean the next mission would take place in Macbeth or Titania, both ending with another boss fight. So for this challenge, I think the best route is through the secret warp zone, which takes us to Sector Z, where we can once again complete a mission by doing absolutely nothing. In this mission, the Venomian army sends 6 missiles towards the Great Fox. Accomplishing the mission would mean destroying all 6 missiles before they hit the Great Fox, but we only have 2 bombs. I did explore Sector Z in hopes of finding more bombs, but this space is completely barren. But even if we had 6 bombs, that's a lot of bombs to be using if we don't have to. And we don't have to. And so we let the first missile take down the Great Fox. It probably would have been cheaper to spare some lasers to save the Great Fox, but what do I know? Because we didn't save the Great Fox, the penultimate mission in our journey is Bolse, and this is where things go from hard to worse. Bolse is a satellite with a core in the middle that we have to destroy to reach Andros. But before the core is even revealed, there are 6 force field generators that must also be destroyed, and we only have 2 bombs, which wasn't even enough to destroy one of the generators. So I'm not sure any amount of bombs would help us here. Another option is to just fly into the generators to cause damage, but the amount of damage we take from the impact is too much, and we'd die before we could even destroy one. Things were not looking good for this challenge, but I didn't want to fail General Pepper. I didn't want to fail the Lylat system. More than we already have. So I reached out to the speedrunning community on Discord in hopes of discovering any tricks or glitches that could be used to bypass this mission, but there didn't seem to be any. This is where I started to accept this challenge would likely have to shift from a no laser challenge to a minimum laser challenge. But then I had a crazy idea. Protecting each force field generator are 2 lasers that will try and shoot at us. So I wondered to myself, is friendly fire a thing in this game? Like, if I were to hover around a force field generator, would these lasers be able to damage these generators when trying to shoot me? I only said we can't use lasers, but I didn't say anything about enemies. Well, it turns out, yes, these enemy lasers can damage the generators. And this was something even the speedrunning community didn't know about. Which, to be fair, why would they, since this is definitely the opposite of speedrunning. But yeah, if you hover around a generator long enough, every so often, one of the lasers shoot at you but hit the generator instead, causing it damage. It's very inconsistent, and probably took 20 minutes per generator, but eventually, after enough friendly fire, the enemy lasers will destroy the generator, allowing us to continue with this challenge. I also noticed that sometimes the enemy ships flying around will fly themselves into the generators, also causing damage, which I found quite amusing. When all 6 force field generators have been destroyed, we reach the mission's checkpoint, and so I decide to sacrifice myself. Anytime we die in a mission, we'll start the mission again at the beginning or a checkpoint, and when we do, we start again with 3 bombs. So since we only had 2 bombs, it made sense to lose a life to in return gain a bomb. We only have so many lives though before game over, so we can't overuse this strategy. Once we reach the mission's checkpoint and the core's shield disappears, a whole swarm of enemy ships come out to attack us. And then eventually, Starwolf's team will come, since we never went to the snow planet Fortuna to fight them. So for the next bit, we just have to fly around and attempt to dodge all these enemy attacks until the satellite's core emerges, which is a challenge in itself. The core has multiple shiny blocks that we need to destroy before we can move on to Venom. We do have 3 bombs, and they are able to damage the core, but it's not enough to completely destroy it. Fortunately, Starwolf's team, and I believe the normal enemies as well, can once again friendly fire and damage the core when trying to attack us, either by shooting at us or flying into the core. The only issue is, it takes a very long time. And unlike before when we were having the enemy lasers destroy the force field generators, we are constantly under attack from every direction here. Coming into this mission, we had Peppy and Falco, but once they are down, then all of Starwolf's team is on us, making it extremely difficult to survive long enough for them to accidentally damage the core. Not only that, but the more the core is damaged, the more lasers it starts shooting out. So every attempt at having the enemies destroy the core led to me being taken down quickly. It was clear I'm not skilled enough to dodge all these attacks for a long period of time. But I wanted to test this theory of enemies being able to destroy the core, so I used a cheat that gave me infinite health. With this cheat on, I could constantly fly around the core for as long as I want without taking damage. And that's what I did, for I don't even know how long. In my test, I only noticed 3 of the shiny blocks destroyed from friendly fire, but I truly think with enough time that the enemies can destroy the core themselves. That enough time just might be a couple of hours though. I also tested to see how many bombs it would take to destroy the core with an unlimited bomb cheat, and it looks like 5 would completely destroy it. But I don't see a path to get to Bolse with 5 bombs in inventory. If Bolse was truly to be beaten laserless, it would have to be with the use of bombs and friendly fire, which is theoretically possible, I just didn't want to fly around for hours trying to prove it. So for this challenge, I did have to fire 5 lasers to take out the last shiny blocks, which, considering how many times we are supposed to fire lasers to defeat this mission, that's really not a lot. I just hope General Pepper won't beat me back at home for this. We finally reached Venom, and with only Slippy of all people. Venom is the planet where Andros was banished to live, and I must say, I love what he's done with the place. His palace is definitely giving Planet of the Apes vibes. Depending how we get to Venom determines how this mission is played out. For example, if we were to come to Venom from Area 6, we'd have to face off against Starwolf's team again before reaching Andros. And as far as I'm aware, their ships can't be damaged with bombs. So to me, this solidifies that we have to come to Venom from Bolse in this challenge. And if we do, then instead of Starwolf's team, prior to Andros, we have to defeat the Golmech, and this guy can be damaged with bombs. Once we reach the checkpoint just before Andros' palace, we can use the same strategy we did in Bolse, and purposely lose a life so that we can respawn at the checkpoint with 3 bombs. Now, we can't just aim our bombs at the Golmech, as that won't do any damage. We need to have the Golmech run into the explosion. For the longest time, I thought the only way to do that was by aiming and firing bombs at the right time so that the bomb would explode off the moving arm of a monkey statue or falling pillar in front of the Golmech. But then someone in the Discord server enlightened me that we can press B again to detonate a bomb early, instead of it having to hit off an object to explode, which made damaging the Golmech much easier and consistent, as we could fire a bomb as it jumps so that it lands in the explosion. I was able to deal quite a bit of damage with 3 well-placed bombs, and I think 4 could be enough to get the Golmech in its second phase, where it's just a red head, but that's really where this challenge comes to a halt. While it is possible to defeat this phase with bombs, as it was tested using the unlimited bombs cheat, by this point, under real conditions, we don't have any bombs, and so unless we use lasers, we can't defeat the Golmech. But there is something very funny that happens if we don't defeat the Golmech. As it runs further down this tunnel, more beams will start to come out of the walls and floor. They can be quite challenging to avoid, especially as we go deeper down the tunnel, so I had put on the infinite health cheat while testing if the Golmech could be destroyed with just bombs. Eventually, we reach a point in the tunnel where it's completely blocked by beams, where we'd no doubt die without the infinite health cheat on. But because I had it on, the game never accounted for us surviving to this point, and after making our way through a forest of beams, we reach this dark void, which still acts like we're in the tunnel. Beams still come out of literally nowhere, and the Golmech continues to run. If Golmech wasn't problematic enough for this challenge, next is the final fight against Andros. The game generously gives us one bomb in the tunnel leading up to him, but one bomb definitely is not enough to defeat Andross. Now, we could just die again so that we start with 3 bombs, and then pick up this additional bomb to have 4, but I was out of lives at this point, so doing that would have meant a game over, which also means starting again in the first mission. A player by the name Lady Crimson tested fighting Andross with only bombs, and they believe the only way to defeat Andross with 9 bombs, which is the most we can carry at a time, would be to wait for him to do a clap attack after he goes to swipe at us twice, and then shooting a bomb. This would hit both of his hands easily and doesn't require much aiming. And then once the hands go down, you would need to accurately aim and time the landing of 3 or 4 more bombs to his eyes to trigger his last phase, which only needs one final well-timed bomb to destroy. The only real problem is, I don't see how we could reach this final battle against Andross with 9 bombs in inventory, at least without shooting. One of Andross's attacks is what is essentially puking out asteroids, and if we destroy them, there will sometimes be bombs we can pick up. And just as I was writing this part of the script, I got an idea. What if we used the one bomb we picked up here in the tunnel to destroy the asteroids? If by doing that, we could get 2 bombs, then theoretically, we could keep doing this, using one bomb to gain 1 more, and defeat Andross. I tested this theory a lot, and while it was rare to spawn 2 bombs, it was at least possible, and happened a couple of times. Of course, defeating Andross this way would require near perfect RNG, but this means it is possible to defeat Andross coming into the fight with 1 bomb, and not having to use lasers. I later went back to Bolse to see if we could use a similar strategy, using bombs to blow up enemies to hopefully spawn 2 more bombs. However, in all my attempts, I never saw 1 bomb spawn, so it's either not possible to get any more bombs, or I just had very unlucky RNG. But at least Bolse can still theoretically be beaten without using lasers through enemies' friendly fire. Really, the only obstacle in this challenge is Golmec, as without infinite bombs, I don't think he can be defeated without the use of some lasers. But yeah, that means the answer to can you beat Star Fox 64 without lasers is currently, and unfortunately, no. Sorry to fail you, General Pepper, but maybe next time, don't be such a cheap ass. It's still really cool though that we can play the majority of the game without using lasers and make it all the way to the second last mission, and theoretically, even the last mission. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. I want to give a shout out to Nintendior for suggesting this challenge in the Press A Discord server, as well as to our YouTube members and Patreons. David Baden, Charm City Gamer, Bone Trooper Wheeler, Serena Bliss, Nice Gamer Music, Young Smoky VP17, Real Backfish, Rebecca Lyons, Venus Lazuli, Leberg, Puddles Megan, Boykoi13, Anarchist Kale, and Blue Pikmin is the best Pikmin, and if you say otherwise, then Louis will eat your soul. Also, this is a completely real name.